interviewing. You know, that's what they doing. Stick around. It's about to get all roomy up in here. Remote Ruby starts now.
What is up? We're back in North America. I miss Amsterdam, man.
Dude, Amsterdam was a lot of fun.
Sure was.
It was a great trip.
It was a good time. It was super short, but also felt super long at the same time.
Well, I was there a few more days than you, so my trip was definitely longer. But
yeah.
what
all did you guys do?
So I flew into Belgium on, I guess, Monday or Tuesday. I can't even really remember because of the whole time zone thing. You know,
yeah, that messes with you.
Yeah, like I know when I left Phoenix, and I have really I got there. I don't know what day it is anymore. I powered through like no sleep on the flight because I just can't sleep on flights anyway. I can get like a tiny little nap in here and there, but powered through. And I took the train from Belgium to Amsterdam and met up with Jason and got pizza.
What'd you do in Belgium?
Nothing. I just rode through, basically.
Oh.
Well, so if I had planned this a lot better, like I was planning on spending more time in Europe because I'm still on break. Like I'm still on vacation until next week. So yeah. I was planning to spend more time there, but instead I spent more time in Utah. And I was going to do more, but I want to do at minimum like one thing. Just something small, like just like I need to do one extra thing outside of like just going to Amsterdam. So I was like, I'll just fly into another country and take the train in. And that was like a mini adventure.
That's cool. Do you have to taking the train between countries, show them your passport and that?
No, it's in the EU. So like I went through customs in Belgium, which took forever. It was like JFK long.
Yeah.
And then I went down to the train station and I talked to a travel agent. I don't know what his technical role was. I need to go to Amsterdam. And he's like, all right, here's a timetable. You can pay for your ticket. And I just got on the train.
We don't have that luxury of being close to so many countries.
No, we don't.
Here.
I know where I need to go. I have a vague understanding of how I'm going to get there, but I don't know the exact ins and outs. It was kind of fun just to piecemeal my way through it.
Amanda messaged me yesterday morning and said, I hope you're happy my video editor is sweating bullets working on your Rails World Talk. So, in quotes, I must admit I've never seen such a fast forward slide heavy talk before in my career. It was sweat emoji. And I was like,
banging through those slides.
Yeah, I had like 87 slides or something.
That's not
30-minute talk is pretty quick.
Yeah,
more than 2 a minute. But Marco had like 300 slides.
I was going to say that isn't.
Shortly afterwards, because she was saying like he was afraid when he's editing to cut to show me on screen because he needs the slides on there. So maybe they'll overlay or something. I'm not sure. But then shortly afterwards, like 3 hours later, it turns out it's not just you. Marco Roth is also giving him issues. And Marco was like, 300 plus slides is a lot of clicking, which is like 10 or I can't math today.
Yeah, no, let's not math, but it's a lot. It's a metric time.
30 minutes. You got to do 10 slides a minute pretty much or more than that.
I was worried they were going to have to get my boy a rebreather. He's talking so fast that he's banging through these slides. I want to know what his slide theme is because that looked so nice. Like it was sleek.
Yeah, it was good. He covered so much in his talk. And like, I remember towards the end there, I was like, Marco's going to get a standing ovation for this because people are so excited about Reaction View and just the improvements that Rails ERB views really just haven't ever gotten. And the amount of cool sort of simple stuff that he can pull off with, rendering the views and then just annotating with data attributes or whatever. And then having a little front end stuff to be able to highlight with some CSS. This was rendered by this partial and so on, which like Rails already does in HTML comments, but that's not that useful. You still have to dig around a lot to figure out where those things come from. Some of the HTML could be done by JavaScript or whatever.
I feel like for some reason it didn't work. Like I tried to use it at Podia and it didn't work for some reason.
It didn't. It's fixed. I sent a PR to fix it the day after or whatever. But while Marco was answering questions in the break, Andy Kroll was trying to set it up and couldn't get it working and had like Herb pinned to like an older version. So then he opens up Reaction View and like a bundle open and there's no code in there because that was the release that Marco did just to like reserve the name. So then he got that figured out and I was like, well, I'm just going to go install it in Go Rails and beat you. But I did, and then I still couldn't get it to work. And it was because of the load ordering or whatever of the rail tie, and I think it's an engine. But anyways, basically that just had to run after configuration. So like it was checking the logic ahead of your configuration being changed. So it just used the default value of like the intercept ERB being false. You were supposed to turn it on as true, but you turned it on as too late to true. So it had already run and basically ignored that. So it was a super simple fix, but should be working now. I think he got that released as a new 0.12. Yeah. As of the 12th.
Then that's going to be something I play with at Podia definitely when I get back next week.
Or no, that was 0.11. There was another add reaction view assets to assets precompile so that Sprockets doesn't complain. So yeah, it's something that I'm very excited for. Need to play with it in my own apps in the meantime, but also fingers crossed that like sounds like he's got a lot of support for it with even Rails core team members. So in theory, if all goes well, this could maybe get merged into Rails. I don't think there's any downside to it so long as the maintenance is there and Marco's clearly committed to maintaining a ton of things. And so that seems like a place in Rails that none of the core team necessarily is the core maintainer or their expertise is like, yeah, we'll fix stuff with it if we need to, but nobody's like pushing it forward. That would be cool if that makes it in. I would be very happy to see that because this is the stuff that's like the developer tooling these days is much more interactive than it used to be. So being able to like toggle this little secret menu in the browser and poke around your HTML and see clicking the thing and taking it right to the ERB tag in your editor, super awesome. So
I mean,
it's just going to be time saver.
There's been a huge like focus for like Ruby 4, right? On developer, like we're talking about developer experience more and more and more, I feel like in the community. So this is exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about delivering like these great developer experiences to like Rails and Ruby developers. This is a perfect example of what that is kind of leading to.
And this is the stuff that like similar to talking to Jose about Tidewave is like you're in your browser right next to your Rails application asking AI to do stuff and like this is interactive for you to do, but also AI could turn on those things if it needs to analyze something and whatever. So like these are cool tools that humans can use first and foremost, but then eventually also tools that your other tools could use. So it's going to make life a million times easier. And it's stuff like this. When you see it for the first time, you're like, I don't know why we haven't had this for 10 years. It's just no one took the time to go build a better ERB parser. And you needed the inspiration first of like Kevin Newton working on Prism and everything else to even maybe get the idea that like we could do that for ERB. I don't think that a lot of this stuff for Prism necessarily works for building Herb because it needs to be fault tolerant and able to analyze and understand the HTML. And like, did you put a paragraph tag inside of a paragraph tag? Because that's not valid. And he showed off some of those things, which were really useful. So it's not just the Ruby portion of it. It's like it also understands HTML well enough that it can handle that. And maybe eventually it'll do like CSS and inline script tags too, where it can parse those languages a bit or shove it off to something else. But as far as I know, those are just kind of treated as like, here's some content. And that's not that big a deal. It's not like we have that many inline styles or JavaScript tags these days.
You'd be surprised.
Oh,
I'm not me
committing
personally.
Crimes?
No, not
You
me
committing
personally.
crimes over there?
Wait. Here, wait. Not me personally, but
I'm going to open up Podia source, view
no.
source, and it's going to be like your name and script tags.
No. There's no, could never. No, I'm not saying me personally. I'm just saying I've seen it in my travels.
Oh, sure.
You know. Oh,
I've seen it in a Git Blamer too.
Yeah,
Like,
not on
fine.
our app, you know, but on other people's apps.
Imagine the last time you had to deal with request timeouts or backed up job queues in your prod environment. Frustrating, right? Here's what that means. You're either not autoscaling or your autoscaler is not doing its job, because autoscaling is supposed to prevent scenarios like this. That's why we built JudoScale. JudoScale is the autoscaler that works for Heroku, Render, Fly, and AWS. With JudoScale, you'll smoothly handle traffic spikes while dramatically lowering your hosting costs. Do you want a rock-solid production environment? Visit judoscale.com/remote Ruby to learn more.
I feel like that's the perfect type of thing. Is like, hey, let's open up like a plugin system to Herb instead of like, let's put this. That's the perfect type of thing. That's like, okay, well, because there's all different types of JavaScript flavors you could have in those. If you're using Vue and Alpine and yada and like just vanilla and
right,
like the perfect type of thing for like a plugin system for people who need that specific thing. Because I don't need it. I don't need it.
You've never written a bug in your life.
I don't need script tags and CSS to be parsed in my HTML, right? Because I would never. But anyway, should we talk about the
formatter stuff? Did he say that was coming soon?
I think it's already
in there. Yeah, that alone will be super helpful too. It's like just being able to, dude, one of the biggest annoyances I have is like whatever my setup for VS Code is right now with ERB tags, they are always a mess. And like I highlight stuff, try and format it, and it just messes things up even worse. And being able to have Herb do that will be incredible. Super duper excited for that.
Recently, there was an ERB formatter that kind of came out that was actually pretty decent, but it's still like, I mean, we talked about this when we had Marco. I feel like we need to have Marco back. But when we talked to Marco like a month ago, not even, like I was bringing all that up. I was like, okay, this formatter does this thing and this one doesn't handle ERB and it just does the HTML and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I just want one. So I'm very happy for that.
Samesies.
I'm going to say, so we talk about what was announced at the keynote. I took screenshots of 2 slides and that was...
I had my phone out and then I forgot what was all in there. So yes, we should. I got the episode back from Paul from recording at Rails World, and I don't know how much actual content we got into there. We got a little bit. Not
really. I think I might have said this list there, but it's worth bringing back up.
Let's hear it again.
Because that whole episode was like a fever dream. Shout out to Buzzsprout. Thank you for allowing me to come to the conference. That was awesome. Action job continuations.
Seriously. Thanks. Dude, that podcast booth is dope.
Oh, yeah, it was. I wanted to have like a botany class in there. Just grow plants. Like I live here now. All right. Action job continuations. Action push, which he had action native push. And I think they talked about naming action push.
Yes. So I talked to David and I talked to Rosa. I'm working on the action push web extraction from Campfire, which for anybody that's been curious about Campfire source code, like I wanted to talk about some examples from their source code, but it wasn't open source. And then I didn't have time to update my slides between when the keynote happened and when my talk was the next day. But yeah, there's a bunch of great code in there that you can check out. It was like basecamp/1-campfire on GitHub. But one of the things he asked about was like, we've released Action Push Native, which is the iOS and Android versions of push notifications, which is great. So like we have that built into Noticed, but we're going to remove and probably deprecate those and move over to using Action Push Native as the delivery methods. And the cool part about that is like right now, Notice doesn't keep track of the device tokens, and Action Push Native does. So when there's an error from one of the things, that basically means go delete the token from the database so you don't send another notification in the future. I know you can get like in trouble for that or whatever. So that takes care of that, which is super duper nice. And then the web version extracting from Campfire. So when he was mentioning action push, the web push version of it, which is a little tricky and a little different, that is going to be a gem. I was poking around and he was like, anybody wants to extract this from Campfire, go for it. So I talked to them and I'm on the project now and got most of it started, but it's like, how do we want to do configuration? How do we want to do little things like that? Getting that right is pretty much the last bits of it, which is kind of the hard parts of doing the extraction too. But I'll probably also drop that into Noticed as a delivery method. We had a PR to add all this into Noticed at one point, and I actually decided against merging it because it required your service worker and some JavaScript there and controller stuff that was really kind of a bit out of scope for Noticed, which I wanted to just be like the orchestration of notifications. So I'm kind of glad I did that because now we can simplify our code base in Noticed and use action push for either one of those. And it will take care of registering the notification stuff and whatever. But some of the things there is like, how do you implement that? Because when you're doing the web push, you need to register the service worker, but you need to kind of do that when the user is like in Campfire and they go open a channel or something. You want to prompt them like, do you want to receive notifications? And then ask for permission then. So that stuff may be specific to your app, not necessarily something we can like decide on in action push web or whatever and just have it like every page load check for permission. That doesn't make sense probably. So those are some of the like things we got to figure out with the gem, but super excited for that because Rails has never really had notifications in that sense before. So kind of cool to have that as a built-in feature.
I've done my fair share of notifications, right? But they've never been for native. And I would like them, but I've dipped my toe in service worker world before. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm going to dip back out. I mean, I went to Rosa's talk and just listening to her talk about these APIs that aren't in sync and like these certain features aren't there and there's WebKit issues and there's this and there's that. It hasn't even been up until recently where this is like something we could even do reliably.
Yeah, right. What else was on the list? So there was like Kamal Geo stuff, wasn't there? Was that what he first started off with?
Yes, I think that is what he first started off with. Kamal Geo proxies. And I guess that also ties with Beamer, which was SQL. I went to the talk and it was really good, but it's like a week ago and a lot has happened. But just a lot about putting your databases in different regions and like having replicas and having them follow. And like maybe I put a main database in Europe and I also want the same one in North America and just a lot of SQLite stuff there. And then, the Kamal Geo proxy. I remember the slides, but I don't remember the specifics about it.
Which one is that?
The Geo
proxy. Yeah. Something similar to like the database reads and writes multi-database, where when you write to the database, you want to read from the same one so that the replicas aren't out of sync. Effectively, it's the same concept for geo replication. If you want to write to your nearest, if you're in Copenhagen, write to the Copenhagen database, read from it as well. But in case you read from anywhere else around the world, you might as well be able to read from that too eventually. So that's got to take some time to replicate or whatever. But yeah, it seems like a cool idea. I don't really know what are the limitations of doing stuff like that and whatnot. But it's kind of like, what if we took a simpler approach to like a shared database around the world? That's definitely a very tough problem. But if you remove some of those constraints or accept some of those limitations, then it's really not so bad. And that, I think, was like the Beamer project that does the replication as the Beamer thing. And kind of along the one, I think the one talk I went to that wasn't a keynote was Mike D'Alessio talking about active record tenanted, which in a similar vein, it's like, what if we just have a SQLite database for every single tenant? So I wonder if that's also in the same thing. Instead of replicating one database around the world, replicating 10,000 databases around the world. That seems like it gets complicated fast because it suffers from the same complexity as apartment, which when you want to migrate the database, you've got to migrate it 10,000 times or whatever. So that's not terribly fun. You can loop through that and hopefully nothing goes wrong, but there's going to be a period of time where half the databases are migrated, half aren't. And I guess you're going to have to just be extra careful with your migrations and the production code so that you don't start requiring that stuff during your deployment or run your migrations ahead of time before the deployment of code that actually uses those features now or whatever. So maybe it's a place where strong migrations comes in to help out or whatever too.
It's almost like you'd want to spin up a job that then runs in parallel to do it like as close as possible to each other.
Production monitoring can be complicated. There are tons of tools and techniques, but you just want to know that your app is up and your users are happy. When your customers encounter a problem, you need clear, actionable intelligence, not walls of charts and reams of logs. That's why they built Honeybadger, the monitoring tool you've always wanted. A tool that's there when you need it and gets out of your way when you don't. With Honeybadger, you'll know when critical errors occur and which customers are affected. You'll be able to respond instantly when your systems go down and improve the health of your systems over time. Plus, you can fix problems before your customers can even report them. Honeybadger is the application health monitoring tool built for you, the developer who cares about a quality product and happy customers. Start monitoring today at honeybadger.io. It's free to get started and setup takes less than 5 minutes. Once again, that's www.honeybadger.io. What else was there?
Turbo offline support.
Oh, yeah. I missed Rose's talk about that because my talk was at the same time.
Yes.
But I'm super excited for that.
And I love you to death, dude. I really do. But I went to Rose's talk because I was so interested. I've never heard her speak before either. And I was like, I really wanted to see her talk. And I was like, I'm really interested in this as well. So
yeah, I heard that a lot. I'm super excited for it because it's part of the reason you want to go with a mobile app is for that ability to do stuff when you're offline. I mean, you can do some of that caching and stuff on web offline too with service workers. But when you think about it and like you're on an airplane, you want to be able to use your app in airplane mode. You may not actually have Wi-Fi or something, but there is less and less situations where you don't have internet, but it's still a thing. So I know a lot of people are excited about that. I'm very, very curious to see that video when it's live, which should be soon.
Yeah, it was a great. And like I said, I've had my run-ins with service workers in the past, and it was just, she was like, all right, I'm just going to add an offline page. And I was like, wow, that's a great idea. Let's break it all the way like to the most simple thing. Let's add a simple service worker. When the app is offline, we'll just show them like you're an offline page. And she was like, and that broke. And it was just like perpetually like going through all these issues she encountered and like, you know, these libraries like having to come up to standard. And it was like, dude, this is a nightmare. Yeah. But it was so interesting.
Huh. Yeah, I'm excited for that then. Because I haven't needed it for anything yet, but we always get questions about it. So very cool. What else is on the list?
Hotwire Native 1.3.
Oh, yeah.
Joe gave a great keynote.
I missed that talk too.
Joe killed it. It was great talk. And I don't know, I've been watching this space. I mean, we've been watching this space for a long time. Like we've had interviews in the past years with people all the way from Strata to like, we've talked to Joe. I know I have at least multiple times on podcasts.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. So It's really cool to see like the iteration of it from where it was to where it is now, where we have these bridge components. Because that was always like the hard part is like, well, you need to do native stuff. You want your nav bars to be native. You want this and that. And now to have like bridge components where you can kind of just pluck them off the shelf, like for a lot of use cases and, implement them the way you need to, and all the like work that's gone into bringing Hotwire native to where it is now, where it's like, wow, like I've hear a lot of teams are like, I think it's time, like we can finally do this and like be comfortable with what we ship.
Yeah. Joe was telling me about the tab bar navigation stuff where that needs to actually be more dynamic, but early days of Turbo native and then Hotwire native were all kind of server defined navigation items. And it's like, that doesn't really make as much sense as it might seem. And I know that was one of the cool things we were talking about at the conference, that will be a nice improvement because then you have a lot more flexibility and control over it. Even something as simple as just you open the app and you're not logged in. So obviously you don't want to see all these tabs. And then you do log in, but then you got to like refresh the entire app because you got to reload the configuration from the server. And it should just be able to be done locally or whatever as part of the request and stuff. So I know that is another really good improvement there. It's cool to see how much Joe's gotten involved on that, where he's probably one of the main drivers pushing Hotwire native forward. Because it'd be a shame if that, like the Turbo native days, like Turbo Android and iOS, they were just kind of launched, a little maintained, but didn't really get the love that they needed. And then now that it's Hotwire native, it really has started to live on its own, which is great. Because that's a killer piece of the ecosystem that does not get enough love.
100%. It could be that defining thing too for Rails. It's like, oh, well, if you want to make a mobile app of your React site, like you got to use React Native or whatever. And those of us who have used React Native knows it's not that simple. And like suddenly you're like, oh, okay, but like you can launch an app with Rails like really quickly. And it's like suddenly that's and like, whoa, that's the only platform I can do that with.
And you can incrementally do it. So you do the web version, then you build the PWA version. You can use Action Push Web. Then you can build the native versions, Action Push Native. So all of those start to, as your engineering team gets more and more invested into mobile, the progress for going from nothing to fully native is really, really smooth now. That's not a thing because you had to like go all in on native. If you do React Native or just Ionic or whatever else, I forgot all the different Cordova.
Flutter.
There's so many of them, But that is like you're saying is it should be one of the biggest selling points of Rails. If your startup successful, eventually you will need mobile apps, desktop apps, all of it. And there's no other framework, as far as I know, that even gives you a fraction of that. I don't know what happened with the Electron, Hotwire, or Turbo. There was like, I think, because Basecamp still uses Electron, I think, for the downloadable desktop versions. There's not a ton of reason for that when you could do a PWA that's basically the same thing. And that's really all it seemed like was being added to the Electron version of it. So hopefully that stuff kind of disappears and you can just download it in air quotes as a PWA on your desktop or whatever. Because that seems totally fine. Or just like a tab that kind of lives independently or whatever.
After Hotwire Native, we had Action Text Lexi.
Oh yeah, I've been playing with that a little bit.
Have you?
I've migrated Jumpstart over to it. The only feature that I am missing right now is the embeddable links, Spotify playlists or songs or whatever, or YouTube videos or X posts or Blue Sky posts or whatever. That stuff is not finished yet. I opened up a discussion about it and they're still working on that because that's basically a required feature for them to move to Lexi and Basecamp. Mike D'Alessio has started like an unfurling of links to grab, the Open Graph tags and whatever else. So that'll probably be here soon-ish, but it'll probably take a little bit longer to figure out. Because now that you can paste in Markdown into Lexi, you can paste in a URL, whereas previously you had to use the link button. And then that was the only way to make it clickable as a link. And that was when you could use a little regex and say like, oh, this is a Spotify or YouTube URL. We'll add a, do you want to embed this button? And then that button I just had set up to make a request to Rails and then use an embed attachable class that would generate an SGID and then embed it like any other attachment. That worked totally fine. But that being able to paste it in as Markdown will make it clickable immediately, but only the URL. So there may be, when you paste in a URL that matches a certain format, like a pattern, maybe those will have a little pop-up that's like, do you want to embed this or just, link it or something? I'm not sure. Maybe that's something that you paste in the link, and then if you click on it, it's like an object, and it could have like that's
what I was thinking
thing
too,
or something.
Because normally
I'm curious to see how they solve it.
Normally, it'll embed it off rip, and you can right click it to like convert to link or something.
Yeah, so that I think they're figuring out the workflow they want for that. I will say the rich text like user mentions and stuff, super elegant now. It's super nice. I was telling Jorge, like the pull request that I have, it removes some of the embed stuff at the moment because I know I'm going to have to redo that part. But I was able to, in this PR, I've added 37 lines of code and removed 734. And 4 of those are actually really, really long lines of code because they're from Zerb Tribute minified lines. So one of those lines is the entire library. And that's clean up a whole heck of a lot of stuff for us because we can then use the Lexi prompt item and Lexi prompt custom elements in order to, when you define your rich text field in your form, you do a block, and then inside of there, you put these custom elements. And basically the Lexi or lexical itself has this functionality so it can do remote filtering. You can simply say supports space in searches. So when I type Andrew space Mason to go look you up, it will be able to know that we don't stop at the first word, which is always really frustrating with other user mention libraries and stuff. So this is now basically a one-liner of extra code to put in your editor to just enable it. You don't have to for every single one of them. And then your backend code just renders some HTML instead of rendering JSON with HTML inside of it, which is always kind of messy. Now you've eliminated that extra little thing, and the backend just renders this Lexi prompt item. It has an attribute for the SGID and an attribute for search terms to match against, which is cool. And then you also do your database query. So you get the filter in the URL param. You query your database, but then it also has the like search text inside as an attribute. And then you just give it 2 templates. What should it look like in the menu and what should it look like in the editor? And typically that might be the same thing. So I have like an avatar in the user's name and boom, you're done.
Nice.
So it is real slick. I like this a lot. As far as building plugins and stuff, don't know yet, but it's still very early days. So we'll see how all that works. But yeah, very, very pleased.
Before I forget, slaps top of line. This baby can fit a whole JavaScript library.
Oh yeah, the other cool thing I know was they're planning to support tables officially in there, which is like
Nice.
Everybody's biggest.
Yeah.
Why can't we do that in Tricks?
Yeah. Well, tables are, tables.
Yep. Tables are tables.
That's for sure. I think that was it for the announcements.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm not super excited about all of them. I think they're all really useful. There's things like Beamer and Kamal Geo proxy and stuff that I'm like, I probably won't use that. Whatever. So not everything applies to me or whatever. And that's probably why I feel not as excited as, we didn't get any major new changes. We didn't get a new Hotwire framework or anything like that. But that's a good thing at the same time. It's like we got a lot of stable stuff, and Lexi and whatnot is probably the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to, just because that every application I need rich text, and I sure would love to not have all these hacky little things I've done to make tricks work the way I need it.
I think that's what the theme kind of felt like to me, is like, okay, we have all these great features, but a lot of them, like, we still have to hack stuff on top of. And like this year, it felt like, hey,
let's polish.
Yeah, let's polish. Let's push these libraries forward. Like, even like the talks too. Like we talked about the Hotwire native, and we talked about Herb. It's like, let's push these existing things we have a lot farther and give more and more abilities to like different teams. So it's an energetic conference. Like, people were excited. And shout out to Amanda. Like, she really killed it again.
Nailed it.
Banged it on.
Did you go to the party at the Strat Museum?
I didn't make it, and I was at dinner, and dinner ended up going to like 10 or 11. I wanted to go. It was the coolest place that I had been to in Amsterdam. It was probably the coolest art museum I'd ever been to. Like, you walk into that thing and it's like 2 or 3 stories tall, and just the biggest art graffiti you've ever seen. It was awesome. But yeah, next year in Austin, I'm sure we'll have some pretty unique, cool stuff to do there. Yeah, I guessed Phoenix on the raffle, and I feel like I was pretty close. So,
round up.
Yeah, bring it to just one in Phoenix, dude. I just don't want to travel one time. Anyway,
right. That'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be curious. 2 Amsterdams in a row for Europe, so maybe we will be in Amsterdam a third time.
And I will not be mad at it.
I do feel like it was really beneficial to be there. I did want to go somewhere else just to have an excuse to go to Belgium or something. But having it in the same place, Amanda knew it all super well, and the vendors and everything. So the polish this year was unbelievably good over the first time in Amsterdam. It was so good. And I don't think you get that when you start from scratch every single time. So,
yeah. And a lot of us already had, if we'd been there before, we like, okay, the first time was like, wow, we're in Amsterdam. There's all these things to see. And it felt like this second time coming back, it's like, okay, what are all the things I didn't do last time?
I'm going to do your list of things.
Yeah. You're like there's
I wish I could have done this or that.
Yeah. And you have a much better understanding of like how to navigate the city. Like, we went to the F1 experience outside the city. Dude, that was so cool.
I wish I could do that.
You can just find all this stuff, and you just got to map out your transit, you like with the trains and stuff, and you're good to go. So I had a great time.
Me too. It was phenomenal, as it always is. Rails World is always
is
setting the standard super high. Shout out to Amanda and the whole crew. That
yes,
there was so many people, so many volunteers, so many vendors. It takes a huge team, to do all that.
I mean, and the turnaround these videos is wild too.
I know. So good. Because they had David's out the next day or the same day or something. It was stupid fast.
It was great.
So that's all I got, man. I'm excited. I got to get back to work on Action Push Web.
I want to give a big shout out to William Kennedy for letting me crash with him one night, because I don't know how to book hotel rooms correctly. But
you and Jason.
Yeah. I slept on the floor at Jason's hotel room for the last 2 days I was there. Dude, I slept like a baby too, because that hotel that we moved, because we had a coworker come in, and that hotel that we moved into, the AC worked. And that was the first AC that we had experienced in Amsterdam to that point. So yeah, Jason cranked that thing down, and dude, I slept like a polar bear baby.
Ours was kind of warm. I had mine all the way down, and it wasn't doing much. The fan was on, but the one thing I will say, that's another thing where she nailed that over the time before in Amsterdam. Like, the hotel that we had previously was a couple train stops away. This was really fun because you just took the ferry across.
Yeah.
And it was like the ferry alone was just an Amsterdam experience too, which felt way more fun than taking a train a couple stops and just sitting around waiting. Like, it was way more entertaining. The location of the hotel was great and all that. So
y'all's hotel had a banging breakfast bar, dude. Let me tell you, because I
missed it. I didn't get
I stayed at a hotel across the street from the conference for the first 2 days. No AC, like a tiny, tiny room. I just slept with the window open, dude. It was fun. It felt like I was backpacking or something. But
Yeah.
I messaged Jason when I woke up the second morning and I was like, yo, what are you doing for breakfast? He's like, I think they have a breakfast here. And boy, did they.
When we did our like tour of Sicily, we had really good breakfast every morning, and like,
Nice.
they know how to do it. They know how to do it right.
I'm a breakfast person. Like, so I was in heaven.
That's my favorite meal of the day.
Not same,
when it's
dude.
no continental American breakfast at a hotel that's like just fake eggs and just crappy food. They got real good stuff there.
Yeah.
All the pastries. Oh,
And I had to explain to so many people what a biscuit was, and it was just awful. Because I went to McDonald's at one point because I was kind of craving like a sausage biscuit.
mm-hmm.
It was the first morning of the conference. I was like, I know they're going to have like food you can pick out. But like I said, I'm a breakfast person. I need like a
Right.
bigger breakfast. So I went to McDonald's and dude, I hit culture shock because I was like, I don't recognize a single thing on this menu and they don't have biscuits. And I went to complain about that. And someone's like, what's a biscuit? I was like, no.
That's hilarious.
Anyway,
What did they have?
they had way better
McMuffins?
quality food. Yeah, it was McMuffins. Yeah.
What they don't have, because it's just the modern American miracle, is the McGriddles.
And that's what I wanted. I didn't want to say it out loud, but that's really what I was going
Yeah.
for. Like 2 sausage
It
biscuits and
sounds-
McGriddle.
It sounds like when we went to Australia, we went to McDonald's a few times. I just want a biscuit, but I'll settle with the McMuffin. It's just never
Yeah.
my favorite.
Yeah, it's not a biscuit, but dude, it was a way healthier menu of McDonald's. Let me tell you what. I had like a BLT, like avocado and egg, like McMuffin. I was like, what the heck is this?
Dude, just give me the deep fried everything.
Dude, for real. All right. Well, this is fun. And I guess when we talk next, I'll be back at work. So we'll see how that goes.
Sabbatical is almost over.
Yep.
RIP.
RIP. It was a good soldier.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I guess my sabbaticals will be starting
I know.
next Friday.
I know.
So
We got
we'll
it.
squeeze in an episode between now and then, probably. But yeah.
Get what you get.
Yep. You
All
suffer
right.
the consequences.
Yep. All right.
Dude. Catch you next week.
Peace.